Let him cook. Let him cook now. Let him cook. I said let him cook.
Welcome to the makings of a madman. Mad men get shit done, it's a passion. Has-beens can't get close to my lab, man. Since I stopped feeding these suckers, they fast. And this is the reason that I move so fast, man. Rewrote the story and threw out the cast. Fuck all the credit, man, I want the cash. I am the running man, you in the past. Too far ahead of you, you cannot see me. I'm stronger and better, you slept on your Wheaties. I got it together, you falling to pieces. I should be calling you Reese's. It should be illegal to teach this, but somebody dared me to do it. So I said, well, damn, I'ma do it. That somebody was me, man.
Let him cook. Let him cook now. Let him cook. I said let him cook.
Welcome to the makers of a madman. Mad men get shit done, it's a passion. Has-beens can't get close to my lab, man. Since I stopped feeding these suckers, they fast. And this is the reason that I move so fast. Rewrote the story and threw out the cast. Fuck all the credit, man, I want the cash. I am the running man, you in the past. Too far ahead of you, you cannot see me. I'm stronger and better, you slept on your Wheaties. I got it together, you falling to pieces. I should be calling you Reese's. It should be illegal to teach this, but somebody dared me to do it. So I said, well, damn, I'ma do it. That somebody was me, man. Welcome in Wednesday, folk. How are y'all doing? Man, it's been a busy week already, man. Like, oh my goodness. How are y'all doing on this beautiful Wednesday afternoon? I hope you have some safe weather where you are, some good weather, maybe enjoying some sunshine. That's one of the benefits of being down here in Alabama. One of the few is that, man, I get to enjoy some really, really cool weather. How are y'all doing out there? As you're coming in, please make sure to introduce yourself and, of course, let us know where you're watching from. And then if you're really about that life, make sure to like, share, subscribe, and all of that jazz. I don't know if you got to catch last night's conversation with Malachi Gross, but if you haven't, please check it out. I've really been enjoying these last few interviews, and y'all know, like, I don't do them a lot, but just every now and then something to just come up, and it's like, oh man, this is kind of cool. And what was very interesting about both Malachi and Christian is that they had a connection with Bishop Carlton Pearson, who I'm sure many of you heard me mention before. At least I know I've talked about him probably once or twice in one of my pre-recorded videos, and I've mentioned him a few times on stream. But if you're curious about Carlton Pearson, you can check out the movie. I think it's called Come Sunday, and I'm sure it's still available on Netflix. You know, you got the right VPN, it's available. Hey there, how y'all doing? Yes. And so, but he was a mega church pastor who, you know, got to the place where he got to a place where he accepted basically universalism, this idea that everybody would be saved and there is no hell. And the church was like, I know you lying. And like, it got bad. He lost like almost everything. And then if you ever just hear the man talk, he was a brilliant mind, and it was a really, as a young minister, because I was a young minister when it happened, it was really, really what's going on. It was really telling, and it was like a message. Like they sent a clear message of how quick things could turn. I mean, because me, even all the way in Alabama, this happened in Oklahoma. All the way in Alabama, preachers were talking about like, oh yeah, don't be like Carlton. Yeah, I think that guy's getting into that Carlton stuff. And they have all different types of narratives about how the devil was getting in you and all that good stuff. And so anyway, Carlton Pearson was a very brilliant man who was a sad case study in what the church does when you stop believing in hell. and you say it out loud. And he's not the only one. There's a few other preachers, mega church pastors, who've gone down a similar path, but his was just the most brutal. And it was one of the first, or it could have been the very first, as a matter of fact. But no. So Malachi actually assisted Bishop Pearson in his latter years up until he passed away. And then Christian got to meet him a few shortly before he passed as well. And so that was just very interesting that I found two other, or to come in contact with two other people who have deconstructed from Christianity while still being on their own journeys, and somewhere Carlton Pearson had had an impact on them. And I specifically remember what was, I guess, supposed to be a debate or a dialogue, not a dialogue, but a debate or a panel between Carlton and about five or six other pastors. And me and my wife sat there and watched that whole thing, and I was like, I was overwhelmed at how precise he was with his delivery. And he was up there with some of the people, at least two of them at the time, was people who I like consider like smart preachers. And watching him compared to them, I was like, oh, that guy not as smart as I thought he was. It was like, man, beautiful stuff. But anyway, if you're interested, Bishop Carlton Pearson, look him up. And the movie comes Sunday. And so that's what I thought was really cool about Malachi. And then there was actually some really cool things that came out of that conversation with him as well, though. I don't know if y'all caught it, but he talked about, one of them I called out. He talked about just getting to the place where he just no longer needed it. And I thought that was, to me, that's one of those deconstruction stories that don't often get platformed because it's not as traumatic, it's not as appetizing to us. And it kind of reminds me of how it was in church. Like, in the church world, there's certain, especially if it's Black church, I don't know how everybody else did church, but there was certain type testimonies that you really wanted people to have. And so there's certain people like, I don't feel like I have that testimony. I don't feel like I have that kind of testimony. People begin to say like, I didn't have a traumatic reason for being here. And that was kind of like something that I thought was really beautiful about his story, is that there was not necessarily this traumatic thing that caused him to kind of drift away, nor was there this big theological break at the time. There was not this, big shift. It was just simply, I don't need this, And so I thought that was really cool. But the other thing was he went to ORU, which is ultimately a Christian university. And he went there for business management and media and production. And I thought, oh man, you forget how many people who are going to Christian schools not to preach. There are plenty of people going to Christian schools to do other things. And that there's, I don't know where my conspiracy folks people are, but I'm like, aha, there's okay. Y'all get it. All right. I hate that I was not able to be here last week. Well, it's bittersweet, right? I was traveling with my son, and so he's going to college. So we had orientation last week, and then next in 2 weeks he'll be moving in. So we'll be taking him up there and moving him in, and then the week before that we'll be moving our daughter into her college because we got two going at the same time. So it's bittersweet because when I am able to take that time away, I'm getting to get that time with them. But and that was just amazing. Like being able to have 2 whole days with your kid in the car is just like, oh my goodness, that's, dude, just made life just feel amazing. It's like, dang, I love my kids. They're some great folk, man. They're some great folk. All right, so we started something new this month on Sundays called Coffee Hours. For those of you that hang out with us for our Sunday sessions, we've been doing it all for the whole month of, is this July, right? Yeah, for the whole month of July, Coffee Hours. And it has been a blast. So listen, if you like these type of conversations, check us out on Sundays. Well, we'll also be having these conversations, and then you'll get to hang out with other people in the community right afterwards. All right, so that's that. Okay, so I had a hard time coming up with the name for today's video because I knew I wanted to talk about community building, and I knew I wanted to talk about it from some specific angles, and so I just wanted to kind of share some really helpful information for anybody who's, you know, trying to be a part of communities, trying to build communities, or even trying to lead communities. If you're trying to uh, build a community from scratch where you are, whatever, I wanted to kind of share some information on it that I thought would be helpful. And man, I played around with so many different titles for this and could not land on anything good. So what you get is the 4 stages of building real community. And the 4 stages is probably going to be a very small part of this conversation. Okay. I almost wanted to name it like, you know, the dark room something, because we're going to talk a little bit about dark room. And I'm like, but that's just too sexy for community. So this is what you get. You get the 4 stages of building community and whatever we put on the thumbnail. Oh, I think community building is hard work. Okay. So I want to share kind of like two images with you to kind of platform this conversation. And so we're going to start somewhat in a narrative sense. So I'm going to start with a little bit of storytelling. We're going to set this story up, and then we're going to switch over to more like informational, and where we're just going to be I'm going to be sharing some concepts and some ideas and stuff like that. So that's going to be, I'm giving you the zig before you see the zag, is pretty much what's going on here. All right, so starting here, I was working on a way to visualize what joining a new community feels like. And I've had this sitting in my notes for a while, and I didn't know if I was going to do a video on this or if I was going to just send a message on this or what. But it's been sitting in my notes for a while, so I wanted to share it. And so I wrote, joining a new community can often feel like walking into a dark room. And I want you to see if you can try to imagine this, if you will, unless you are driving or operating heavy machinery. You know, you maybe don't participate in this one. But no, just try to imagine this scene. Joining a new community can often feel like walking into a dark room. You know that either the room is empty or the room is occupied, but you cannot see enough to determine which it is. And because this is your first time in the room, you likely don't know where the light switch is, nor do you know if there's any furniture that you might bump into or anything sensitive that you might cause to break. So you're alone in the dark. You're either forced to leave, stand still, or slowly lurk around until you find some light. That's what joining a new community can feel like. Does that resonate with anybody? Does that resonate with anybody? Where it's like, yeah, listen, this is not just these hyper specific communities. These are like almost any community. When you're joining a new school, especially if you're going on site, but even when even if you are going to do e-school or online schooling, just going into the Blackboard room for the first time, joining a new community can often feel like walking into a dark room. And it's really like doing anything new is going to feel like that. Doing anything for the first time is going to feel like that. And so it's very natural. It's very natural. When my oldest was learning how to ride a bicycle, I'd have him on his bicycle, and I took the training wheels off, and we're doing the, you know, riding around in the little driveway thing, and you know, and then I start realizing that he's very afraid to fall, and so I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, all right, I know what we need to do here, and so I say, hey, fall. He's like, what? Yeah, let's just go ahead and fall. And you know, of course, he's looking at me like, Dad, why? I'm like, oh, just trust me on this. Trust me. Just fall. All right. Just go ahead. And he did it. Just fall. And then we get up. You can't be afraid of that. You're gonna fall. You know, falling doesn't mean you can't do it. You're gonna fall. You're gonna fall a few times. You're likely gonna get to a place where you're really, really good at it, and you will still run the risk of falling. So let's just go ahead and get used to it now. And then within a matter of time, he was on there because he got that fear of falling, or failing, however you want to say it, out of his system. I've already confronted it. I'm already dealing with it. Okay. And so, but that's that thing that we have to do over and over again every time we're introduced to anything, to something new. All right. Now, this is also a lesson in that sense. My mind immediately goes to, it's also a lesson in member experience. So when you're on the side of building community or planning community or managing community, you have to be mindful that when people are joining a community, it feels like walking into a dark room. And so you have to find ways to make that room feel less dark. You have to find ways to make that room feel more warm. And that's easy. Like on site, son. On site, that's easy. You put out some bagels or something. They're like, oh, they friendly here. That's easy on site. But virtually, you have to, because then it's even more of a dark room, right? And so within that, there's kind of a lesson on member experiences. Okay, it's like, how do you, what hotel does that we leave the light on for you? Like, how do you leave the light on for people? How do you help them navigate through the dark? And so anyway, so if that's what joining a new community feels like, what does building a new community feel like? All right. So, and we're gonna stick with our kind of like dark room analogy. So that's what I was gonna put on the thumbnail, the dark room analogy. And I'm like, but that's just way too deep for what I mean it for. Like, it's like I'm using that terminology, but no, this is not like some complex philosophical framework. It's just the words work together. But no. So continuing our dark room analogy, if joining a community feels like walking into a dark room, then building a new community feels like convincing others to walk with you into a dark room. Yeah. If joining a new community feels like walking into a dark room, then building a new community feels like inviting others to walk with you into a dark room, and there's no one to welcome them in yet. You know what I'm saying? Nah. Yeah. You go ahead and try to make that pitch. Hey, I want you to come with me. Where are we going? Into that dark room. Why? I don't know. You know what I'm saying? I know. Who's in there? Nobody. Why are we going? To get other people to come in there with us. Like, no, like it feels weird, right? Building community is like convincing others to walk with you into a dark room. And like ultimately that's what we've been doing. Man, shoot, ever since we've kind of started finally pulling together a little team, it's just like we've just been working in a dark room and inviting other people. Hey, you want to come work in this dark room with us as we try to figure things out, right? Now, why does it feel that way? Because basically, as again, I'm saying this is not unique to community. This is, anytime you're doing anything new, it's that same feeling, which I guess is how that dark room analogy could be a little more deeper than I'm willing to give it credit for at this moment. But it is. It's just that with anything new, it's like walking into a dark room. Like now I want to see if I can make a webisode called Dark Rooms, kind of like back rooms, but dark rooms. You get it. You get it. It works. It works. Don't be hating on me. Don't be hating. Oh man. Wow. Yeah. People lose a lot when they disconnect from those old systems, or let me say it this way. I'm not even going to say old, just inherited systems, right? The reality is the majority of our communities have been inherited. So we've never had to do the work of intentionally building a community. You know, not building an intentional community. Like that's not something you often have to do. Now there's some people who do go into certain occupations that cause them to have to build community in different types of ways that brings them into, that gives them a lot of insight into building community. Interestingly enough, salespeople, especially the ones who are like performance based, like where it's just like commissions only, like those jokers, they can build community from out of nowhere. Like it's you think it was magic. That's why so many of them become, you know what they become. All right. So, but yeah, so the reality is like the reason building community and joining community feels so new and feels like that dark room, because it's not actually something we've had to do without our hands being held in a very long time. And that's actually to our credit. Like that means our species has done an incredible job, and we can argue about the positive, negative attributes of it. But our species has done an incredible job of making community like just a reality. It's just a reality. Like you're born into a family that already has roles, that already exist in a neighborhood, that already has a citizenship, that is already participating or not participating, already has, you're born into all of that. You don't have to, you don't, they're not waiting for you to turn 7 so you can start saying, hey, help us figure out who we are, type of thing. Now that would be interesting. I'd like to see that movie. But you attended schools, all of us. This ain't just you. I'm not picking on you. All of us. We attended schools that we didn't have to organize. We didn't have to create the codes of conduct. We didn't have to learn anything about classroom management. We're just going through it, And so the community that we're developing in that is a product of something that's already been built. So this is what I'm saying. We've inherited community, and we've done, like, society has done such a great job in a sense, in the sense that it is ever, so easily available, especially in the West, that community just seems to be all around you easily. But that also means that you eventually lose the language for what it is and how to build it, because it's just there, and you begin to be so separated from it. Now, again, this ain't everybody. There are certain people, again, I mentioned salespeople, but other people are often like people who end up taking on volunteer roles for like coaching Little League and stuff like that. And then they end up working higher up with the networks and stuff. They end up being incredibly good at community building, because you end up having to, now you're the person who has to make all the phone calls, you're the person who has to do all of those types of things. So there are roles that people get introduced into it, but by far and large, if you haven't, or even if you have, you're so disconnected from the language of it that you don't even know that's what you were doing. And that's kind of like what college did for me. It gave me language for what I was doing, because the only language I had prior to college, based on the world that I had been shaped by, was I only had scriptural and spiritual language to explain the things that I was doing with my life. That's all I had, scriptural and spiritual language. That was all I had. Apostle, gift, hallelujah, whatever, just spiritual, scriptural language that defined who I was and what I did. And it took a long time to realize the aspects of, okay, some of this is public speaking. Okay, some of this is teams building. Some of this is community development. Some of this is training. Dang, boy, you do a lot of recruiting. It took me a while to get language, and it was college that did that. It was college that says, oh, snap, a lot of these things that I'm, given this spiritual woo credit for is actually just human phenomenon. And like, forgive me for being me for a moment. And I'm like, and this has me like incredibly underestimating what I do and how I do it and what I'm capable of doing. Like, and by that time I worked for, by that time I had, roles as executive director in nonprofit organizations, for other folk. And still like the language I had for it was still very spiritual. It's just like, I'm just out here fulfilling my call, doing what God wants me to do, type of thing, which prevented me from seeing the mechanics of what I was actually doing and even ways to improve upon what I was doing. But college gave me that language. And so for me, working in the dark is easy for me. And I think I take that for granted. I do take that for granted. It's something. It's funny. My wife will laugh at me about it, and one of my best friends, who I damn near call brother, will laugh at me about it. Like if you put me in an empty room, I just see stuff in it. I see stuff in it. When he came and saw what I had done to my garage, he said, you can't leave empty stuff alone, can you, dude? Nah, like I work in the dark. Like I think that's a part of that comes from being a church planner and being one of the Pentecostal people where you just really believed in faith. And it was just like I'm pretty sure, yes, I do. I remember there was a Sunday that our lights got cut off at the church building. Like at the church building, the lights get cut off on a Sunday morning. How does that even happen? And I'm freaking out because at that time, our church wasn't doing that well. I'm like, did we not pay the light bill? And then it was like, no, we did pay the light bill, but something was wrong. And I'm like, oh, snap, I got to find a way to not stress because I got to preach. And I changed my message at the last minute and preached the sermon called "He'll Do It in the Dark." Just you just do stuff like that. But no, all of these things, I say that to say all of this, it was going to college that ended up giving me language to say, oh, now we can actually see what you're really working with. And that's when I really became fascinated with community building and the power of community building. Like I'm fascinated by what people can accomplish when they exist on the level of community. Because something like communal existence, okay, I'm gonna try not to get too far off here, but communal existence is damn near transcendent. Okay, I want you to think about it. Communal like when you agree to share community with somebody, like that's a different type of agreement. It's not as intimate as marriage or personal friendship or even cousinship. It's not as intimate. It's not even as intimate as in-laws, but it's not as distant as stranger. It's somewhere perfectly nestled between neighbor, and maybe nobody at all. Something. Community. It's just community is just it's a very interesting place of existence. That he'll do it in the dark. He'll do it. I am not. Like I'm gonna stop looking at chats. See there? Y'all but no, that's the reality is building community is definitely something that it's a new muscle. If you've never had to do it before. Entrepreneurs, they live on it, But but building a new community, it requires stepping into a reality where nothing exists yet. Nothing has been built yet. That's what building a new community feels like. It's like starting. Oh man, okay. Because this is how big community is, right? It's like starting a little league association when there are no teams. That's like, think about it. How would you do that? All right. And the thing is, people do. And so, how would you do that? How would you start a little league association with, and there's no teams in the area. Just they don't exist. There's no teams at all. How would you start it? And as you're answering that question, like if you're seeking to answer it in good faith, now maybe you just don't care that much about this assignment, and that's fine. This summer school, you do what you want to do. You feel me? But like if you do that, you begin to, if you do those steps and you figure it out, this is how we get here. If we want a little league association and there's no teams, if you do that thought experiment, good faith, you'll be answering the same question of how to build community. Because that building a little league association, it's that same type of communal relationship where these people are not as close to me as my family members or my in-laws. They're not as close to me and nor are they as close to me as my enemies. They exist somewhere in this intersection area of shared humanity, and that gives us enough to coexist. And so for the little league, that's all being a part of the league. You have to build a community around the idea of being a part of that league. Maybe I don't know what your favorite league is. We're just gonna say the Bridge City League. You're trying to get you want people to become you want to create a Bridge City Little League Association in an area where there are no little league teams and there are no little league players. Then you have got to get people excited about the idea of being a part of a league at different levels. Because some people are going to want to play the game. Others are going to want to coach the game. Some people are going to watch the game. Some people are going to see the games as an opportunity to sell their, jerk chicken recipe. Yeah. Somebody's going to want to build the buildings for the games, all of those things. That when you start doing something like that there you go, Bridge City Architects. I love it. That's when you start realizing, like, oh, that's what building community is. It's it's messy because it's dark. All right. Because you got to start, and you have to. It's everything is new and nothing is seen. So everybody's working in the dark. That's what. And again, watch this. Hey, entrepreneurs, business owners, like, you already know I ain't said nothing new. And that's the thing that I often remind people. I get this from a quote allegedly from dang it, why can't I get his name right now? George Washington Carver. Am I doing that right? It just feels wrong. But I think that's right. Yes. And so he had this thing, because he was brilliant mind, man, just brilliant mind, where, like, he has this quote, and I want to try to do it justice. I may not, but it was along the lines of him getting an understanding of the peanut, like at a very, very intimate level. It just sounds weird saying it that way, but him getting an understanding of the peanut, and it was like, but once he understood the peanut, he felt like he can understand the universe in a sense. And that just made so much sense to me. And so I kind of adopted it as my own ism. And that is, if you can understand one thing, you can understand all things. And it's not a truism in this sense that it can just be equally mapped along everything, just, neatly. But it does have some validity in the sense of, if you've ever really had to focus on doing anything, like, and actually making something happen, that's a transferable life experience. That's a transferable life skill. And so, that's how, like, if you can understand one thing, you can kind of understand, all things. And so it's just a very, very interesting principle. So anyway, everything is new, nothing is seen, everybody's working in the dark. Okay. And so that's why it's scary. It's new. Much of our community has been inherited. Our job networks, all of that stuff, inherited. We didn't have to build it. We didn't have to manage it. We weren't on the boards unless you were. You know what I'm saying? So we've inherited. And so now for those of us who are leaving those inherited systems, that is leaving a large gap, right? Because we're leaving the inherited system, but we all still need community. Now, and I want to clarify this, because there are people who say, I don't need community, and I get what they mean. And so I don't push back when people say, oh, I don't need community. I get what they mean. What they mean is, I don't need somewhere that I need to check into every week. Sure. Yeah. I get what you mean there. But the only people I can say who say I don't need community, and they're probably being like genuinely valid, are people who live by themselves, like off the land, just off grid. Those are people who really believe they don't need community. But like, if you're interacting with society, you get some value from community. I mean, or you can just roll out, you can be like, yeah, I'm good. I don't want, I don't want to do that. Like, I'm going to go, which people do. Oh, snap. I've never seen these before. That is so dope. Thank you, Captain. I have no clue what that is. I have to be like the worst YouTuber on YouTube. But that is dope. This is how I learn things. This is how I learn. You're watching DaranteLaMar learn something in real time. That's so funny. That is all right. And so community building is messy, it's dark, and it's because it's new, and because we've inherited community, so we've not really had to build community. So I felt like a good conversation to have is like just starting with the basics of community. And that's why I said I actually struggled with this title, because we're not going to be necessarily talking about the 4 stages of building real community. Like, I'm going to mention 4 stages. The word real community, I was like, I was struggling with it. I was struggling. But we are talking about building community. And what I really want to do right now is just to shed a little light in a dark room. I want to completely demystify community. Because I think it's become sometimes community gets interpolated. Oh, that's dope. Gets interpolated as like spirituality type of thing, and I can go there with you. I can go there. If you notice, like, I don't use the word spiritual a lot. I don't need to use it. I'm not averse to the word either. I do like to kind of define it, but for some people, when they think of community, it does kind of get lost sometimes to me in this conversation of just being about connectedness, and it's like, yes, the connectedness is a wonderful part. And that's actually one of the parts that I get really excited about from a sociological perspective, and just from a narrative theory perspective. It just, oh my goodness. And from a communication perspective, because then it allows us to tell better stories. But But even beyond just the connectedness of it, there are real mechanics of it as well. And so this is where I kind of want to drop in and just share some information that I hope will be helpful. And again, my goal here is to, and maybe that would have been a better title, demystifying community. That's what I want to do. I want to completely demystify this aspect of what community is, how community building works, because it's not a secret. Like it's not a mystery. It's just messy. You know, it's not magic. it's mechanics. But sometimes, like, especially in this culture, and this is something that I really try to shy away from. In this culture, it's so easy for a YouTuber to just be like, yeah, I got the secret sauce and it's just me who knows this. And it's like, that is so tempting and completely unnecessary and counterproductive, right? I don't have the patent on community strategy. It's public knowledge. It's public knowledge. Man, I am overwhelmed. 350 gems. Finger heart. This is interesting. Thank you, Alan. Thank you, Captain. Y'all are, man. Let's go. Yeah. I'm guessing this is good. Right. So we're demystifying community. So I want to start here with just talking about the sense of community, and I'm going to give you some things to think about. So there was a seminal study in 1986 done by McMillan and Chavis, Chavis. That reminds me of a scene in a show. I'm going to come back to that. I'm going to come back to that. All right. So in the seminal, in the study, they were identifying 4 elements of a sense of community. All right. And again, the goal today is to really just demystify community and to show you, or to introduce you to different branches of study that you can get into to learn more about it, or just books you could pick up. So already, you know, if you're interested in this study on the 4 elements of the sense of community, while I have not linked the article, I did give you 3 helpful variables of information. I gave you a year, 1986, and then I gave you 2 names, McMillan, and Chavis. And I spelled Chavis. And so you run those through your search and you will find these, or you will not. Man, look at that. Shout out to the Bridge City folks. Thank you. Y'all are beautiful today. Look, I just love y'all. Y'all are just so awesome. Y'all are so awesome. Awesome. All right. So, sense of community. This is pretty much where we all start, right? This first element of sense of community, according to McMillan and Chavis, was membership. Like, that's the given, right? That's the given. Notice I didn't make you wait to the end for that. Well, I mean, 43 minutes is a long time, but we've been talking. All right, so membership. And that's the feeling of belonging or of sharing a sense of personal relatedness. All right, this is one of what McMillan and Chavis identified as one of the 4 elements of a sense of community. One of the first one is membership, okay? The feeling of belonging or of sharing a sense of personal relatedness. I belong here and I relate to people here. That's membership. That's what membership is. I belong here and I relate to people here. All right. I was a part of a breed of churches that within the past, at least while I was transitioning out, had stopped doing like tithes and offerings. Like they didn't stop doing giving. They just stopped talking about it beyond, hey, this is giving opportunity. If you want to give, do so. There was nothing else. No more attachment. It no longer became a requirement of membership. Now, primarily because it wasn't working. Because membership wasn't based off of, necessarily paying dues. And I'm not saying that membership organizations shouldn't have fees. I'm not saying that at all. You won't catch me saying that. There's no such thing as free energy, right? We did that in reciprocity. We talked about that. But at the end of the day, that's not where community begins. It begins, I belong here and I relate here. And I can tell you as a former pastor, there were plenty of people who were members at my church that never gave. And they were still members because they belonged and they related. We couldn't stop them from being members, right? Like, so watch this. This is one of the things that people often confuses people with people from the Pride community and why they still stay in churches that are not life affirming. You know what I'm saying? Why they still stay in churches that are not inclusive. And it's a real struggle, but some of them, and I would not dare speak for everybody, not ever, but some of them do it because of this sense of community, of membership. I belong here and I relate to people here. I may not like what the bishop is saying, but I belong here and and I relate to people here. That's the basis. That's like the entry point. That's the entry point. That's what, like, as we're continuing to build out our member experience team, that's what they're going to have to hyper focus on. How do people belong here and how do they relate? Right? Okay, so that's membership. And again, this isn't guru talk. This isn't stuff that I'm pulling from an inaccessible history that I could just make up, right? Like this is stuff that this is stuff that is in workbooks, textbooks, McMillan and Chavez, 1986. All right. Next, so membership. Next one is influence. And this is the phase that we're in now with Bridge City. And this is not the stages that we're going to get to, but this is the phase we're kind of in with Bridge City, or where more of our members are getting into this phase. Right? Everybody starts into membership. Everybody starts just, I belong here and I relate here. And if you do that long enough, you get over into influence. That not only do I belong here and I relate here, influence is I matter here. Dang, like, oh, this could be a whole workshop right here, y'all. This could be a whole workshop. Membership is I belong here and I relate to people here. Influence is I matter here. Okay? So, like, watch this. When we have club organizers in Bridge City, they are now working together because we have a director of social arts to do projects that get featured during the Sunday sessions. And so that helps the people who are organizing the arts activities matter. No, I matter here. And it's funny because that you realize, like, matter comes with weight. Dang, that's bars. Matter comes with weight. You matter because it's not just because you feel appreciated, it's because you're being able to lift something up. You're being able to put something out there. Influences, I matter here. Like, that's when it gets to that place where you're not coming because you need something from the community. Oh, this is good. You're coming because you matter there. No, I'm coming because this is what the community gets from me. I matter. Yeah. No, I matter there. If I'm not here, who's welcoming the new members when they join our global campus, when they join the dark room? Who's there on the other side? The person who does that says, "Oh, I matter here." You know, man, that's that next level of getting people to the place of not only do you belong, not only do you have people that you relate, not only do you relate to other people here, but you matter. You know, and you matter. Something you do here is influential. Man, thank you. That something you do is influential for the community. That's making a difference to a group and of the group mattering to its members. Yes. There was a sense that I only mattered as long as no one else did it. Oh, and that's a good one. Oh man. Oh man. Well, and I think that brings us to that next level, which is reinforcement. That's when there's integration and fulfillment of needs. That's a level of this sense of community. So, okay, I was coming originally because I belonged and had people that I related to. And then as I got more involved, this is the sense of community, I developed influence that, oh, I matter here. Something depends on me. But in this third one is reinforcement, which is an integration and a fulfillment of needs, which is now, I get something from this that I need. Now this is a part of my structural reinforcement. That's that reinforcement. And then that last place is the shared emotional connection. Now, the shared emotional connection one, and I don't know if they intended for these to be any type of hierarchy, likely not. But I do notice that the shared emotional connection tends to increase through more of the influence and more of the reinforcement. It's like the battles that you go through. But these are just the kind of senses of community. So why is this information helpful? Why does this information matter? Then it kind of helps give us all an understanding of where we are in a community, of where others are in a community, of knowing that the sense is different for everybody. Some people for the community are there just for the feeling of belonging or share of sense of personal relatedness. I belong here. I relate to somebody. But there are others who are joining because I'm looking for a place where like I matter. And then there are others who are like, no, I'm looking for a place that I can fully integrate into and be a part of the architecture. And then there's other people that are just here for the shared emotional connection. Community caters to all of that. Okay. So moving on, community development, and this is what is often linked to with community work or community planning. This is community work done to progress the social well-being of local, regional, sometimes national or global communities. More grassroots efforts, which is called community building or community organizing, seek to empower individuals and groups of people by providing them with the skills they need to affect change in their own communities. Community is like a giant skill share. Community is like a giant Skillshare. Yeah. Yep. It's like a giant Skillshare. Okay. All right. So community development practitioners understand how to work with individuals and affect communities' positions within the context of larger social institutions. On that same road, you have on that same spectrum, rather, you have public administrators who understand community development in the context of rural and urban development, housing and economic development, and community organizational and business development. All right, so now I'm saying all of that to say that community building, community planning, community development, it is not mysterious. Okay, there are entire coursework. There's entire schools dedicated with coursework on community development on dang near any angle. Whether you're talking about business community, legal, professional communities, faith-based communities, congregational, which probably a better way to say that is congregational communities. The work is out there. Public administration it's out there. It's out there and it's available to us. And here's the funny thing: many of the churches are using that work, which is that was a fascinating something that I wanted to explore last night in my conversation with Malachi. I got to put it in my notes for something to come back to. But for a lot of the stuff that I was learning before I deconstructed, when I'm going to these church leadership conferences and stuff like that, a lot of this stuff that I was learning was real principles of community development, community planning, and community management. The problem was it was being presented to us as revelatory, as revelation and experience. Like there was no, hey, here's the man behind the curtain. There's no, hey, like all of the books that we were encouraged to read were basically books by other preachers who were referencing these sociological concepts without calling them that. And so everything just felt like, oh no, these are the people who prayed the most and got the best, got the best plans, type of thing. And of course, when I was going through college, I'm now able to clearly see because I'm getting the language and I'm like, oh snap, the stuff that we're doing that, you telling me it took you 30 years of prayer to learn. I'm like, it's been in this book since 1986. Like it's just been right here. And I either think you knew that or whoever told you this, whoever shared this information with you knew that. Either way, it became problematic because, and now I'm just kind of rabbit trailing, it became problematic for me. It's like, actually, you're doing more damage this way. Like, it's like kind of like what I open up, like, ain't no secret sauce, man. Like, no, if there's something that is, and at least this is how I thought about it, if there's something that is, if you know the mechanics of how this works, share this with the other people who you're doing this with. It makes no sense to me why humans sometimes human the way that we human. I'm just like, I know it seemed like a really, smart idea to begin with, but at the end of the day, man, like it's counterproductive. All right, so now we'll talk about what the title of the video is. The title of the video is the 4 stages of building community. In the different drum, Community Making and Peace, 1987, Scott Peck argues that the almost accidental sense of community that exists at times of crisis can be consciously built. Now, this is what leads him to these stages, and we're gonna talk about these stages. But like I said, I don't want to make the whole talk about these stages, but watch. So Peck believes that conscious community building is a process of deliberate design based on the knowledge and application of certain rules. He states that this process goes through 4 stages. All right. What are our 4 stages? The first one is pseudo community. Let's talk about pseudo community. Yes. Oh man, I got to see this. It's kind of nuts how many spiritual experiences turned out to be carefully crafted by people who believe they're called to create the illusions that keep people believing in the supernatural. Yes. Oh my goodness. It's amazing, man. Like it's really hard to get out of that headspin. It's really hard to get out of that headspin. Like I was a worship pastor for a while, you know, and I'm sure it still comes off in the music that I write. And at some point it becomes impossible to ignore, like you know what you're doing, you know, like, and you can't do it to a precision, like, you know, sometimes people could just gonna be having bad days, you know, or whatever. But by the most part, for the most part, like, you know, we're gonna do the 2 fast songs first, we're gonna do the 2 slow songs, you know, after that. And the fast song is to get them, you know, energized, get them hyped up. And then you go to slow songs, we want them more reflective. And that's going to be the perfect transition to cut from the music to the speaking. Now, and when you do it like that, and this is why I say, like, I can't give them too much credit because I was one of them. It seems genius, but it's just very elementary. And then it becomes somewhat formulaic in a way that is no longer scientific, you know. Like in the beginning, it started like it was almost a scientific thing. And then it just became dogmatic. And then it became, yeah, because people can't just go from loud music and fun music to talking. Well, why can't they? Huh? Oh, you never asked that question. So it was that type of thing. Anyway, I'm going down that rabbit trail because y'all took me there. Because y'all took me there. But no, after a while, you just realize, like, oh no, there are mechanics here. And whether we're singing about Jesus, Allah, or Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, we can have this same experience. And that was actually one of the things that really disappointed me about my time in the church world, because I had some incredibly profound, for lack of a better word. Profound is not the word that I want to use. It's just the only word I can grab right now. But I've had some incredibly profound spiritual experiences. I've led some very, very charismatic, you know, moments. And like I've had what is it? Like I've done the laying of hands and the blowing on people and lines of people falling down. I've done all of that. I've cast out the devils and stuff like that. You know, I would have loved, oh my goodness, absolutely loved. I get chills when I think about it. Ooh, like Mufasa type of thing. Like I would have loved if I can go back to all of those experiences, just the whole room, everybody in the room. And we have some trained psychologists and sociologists just there to observe. I want them there to observe and collect data. Oh my goodness, I would have loved it. Because, and what, and I got to say it where I don't know how to make this make sense to other people. But to me, the things that have happened in these religious echo chambers, it has created a cave of isolation where certain human experiences, we're just not getting the data to test. You know? And I think a part of that makes me upset, because that makes people easier to scam. Because then, like, Benny Hinn can just go to another city and run the same scam again. Oh, look at all of the people who are getting healed who are not actually getting healed. You know? But man, to be able to have some trained professionals on by, just for the good of humanity. I ain't even saying they're in an antagonistic type of sense. I'd love to recreate some of these experiences myself, just to be able to study the human data, because that's what gets lost. That's what gets lost. Like that, man, there's like generations and generations of data of what happens to humans when they hype themselves up on hysteria and all of these other things. I would want all of that data. I'd want every single bit of it. I'm sorry. Yep, I'd want it. I want it. But like that's even something I'd hope that Bridge City gets to play a part in one day, is being able to, because people have experiences, and I don't think we're doing any, we're not doing anybody favors by not creating spaces where they can explore those questions safely. You know, well, I want it. I want to know what's going on. I want to go what's going on in your mind when you pray. You know, hippity hop. I want to know what's going on in your head when you're meditating. I want to know. I don't just want them at churches though. I want them at concerts. This is how much of the human experience I want to know. I want to know what's going on. How is this happening? What happens when Michael Jackson sings that makes somebody physically start convulsing and then fall out? Like, what is happening? It's a human phenomenon. So I'm fascinated by it. All right. So 4 stages of building community. First stage is pseudo community. This is where we all start. Pseudo community. This is different than the sense of community. The sense of community was basically just kind of about, according to Chavez, I don't know why I like saying that name, but McMillan and Chavez from 1986. It's more so about the feelings of the individual that they feel as a member. This is more like the stages of actual building a community. And it starts with pseudo community. And it's very important that we all kind of know that. Like, that starts with pseudo community. This is where first people come together. They try to be nice and present what they feel are the most personable and friendly characteristics. This is what we all do. We all do this. It's appropriate. You don't show up with all your mess on day one. Not on day one. I mean, you could, but I don't know if society's ready for that. So like, all communities start with pseudo community. All right. I think one of the biggest dangers is that it stays there and people start thinking it's real community. That's where, like, I try to be really mindful of parasocial relationships. Like, you know, I've never been like a fight the future type of person. I ain't, but I've never been like, hey, let's just crash it all down either. And so I exist in this world, like, if we know that there are problems that are being exaggerated, if you will, by social media, then we should probably be increasingly more mindful of them. And so I try to lean into that caution. So what happens with pseudo community, if a community stays pseudo community and you start treating it like real community, then what happens is people who don't know each other are treating each other like they do. And that is, you know, from a person speaking just from healthy community relationship dynamics, it don't work well. It does not work well. You get to know people through time, you know, and it's when you know that it's pseudo community in the beginning, it doesn't necessarily make you cynical, you know. It doesn't even make you skeptical. It just keeps you from putting too much pressure on anybody to be any specific thing. Everybody, it's just polite at that moment. Yes, it becomes very performative. Yes. You know, And so it can't stay there. The work doesn't happen where everybody's polite, right? I mean, we can be nice, you know. The life story should be carefully done. Oh, I love it. So we have to first understand pseudo community is natural, right? Pseudo community is natural. You're going to start there because you're all like, anytime you're doing anything new, you're all strangers. And again, like you're going to have, I hate to do this to you. I hate to do this to you, but you've unplugged from the matrix. That's where you are. All right. So like you no longer, like when you're doing something new, all right, now when you go back to your job, you're right back in the matrix. So you can do everything you do there the normal way you do it. When you're building something new, you have unplugged from the matrix. All right. So when you're building something new, you outside of it. And so everybody you meet is ultimately another virtual stranger, where the only thing that you and them have in common off site is just that you both so happen to unplug from the matrix and meet right here. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? So it starts off as pseudo community because you don't have a history yet to build real community. You do not have the experience yet. You do not have the knowledge yet. And so, the moment you start, and the moment community starts forcing you to try to have all of those things, that can become problematic. So it's like, no, you just show up. We all show up when it's brand new to pseudo community. The next stage is where things get hairy. The next stage is where things get hairy. Now, again, this is according to Scott Peck. You may not agree with Scott Peck. I don't know. But we're using his book as a point of reference in the different drum, community making, and peace. So he says community starts as pseudo community, and then that next step is chaos. All right. So, all right, people move beyond the inauthenticity of pseudo community and feel safe enough to present their full selves, including their shadows. That's where the chaos ensues. This is why it's so tempting to stay in pseudo community. Pseudo community avoids conflict. Pseudo community avoids chaos, or at least tries to. It's unavoidable. Pseudo community, when it cannot avoid conflict, will weaponize conflict. Now I'm speaking from experience. Pseudo community, when it cannot avoid conflict, it'll weaponize it. I don't want to say real community, but yeah, a mature community has to mature through chaos. Chaos is the testing ground. How do you handle chaos? It's just, if we're talking about building it, like the people who just want to join, you just need to know this just to feel like you know a little something about how things work. But the people who just want to join a community, the people who just want to benefit from an existing community, they don't need to know any of this. They're going to live it. They don't need to know any of this, right? But if you're a person who wants to build a community, you got to be willing to deal with chaos. Otherwise, you'll stay stuck in pseudo community. Dang. And see, that's kind of like the inherited communities we were in. The inherited communities were more like pseudo communities. We didn't really have to do any work in it. We didn't have to do any work in it. Studio. Oh man. All right. So chaos where people show up as themselves. And here's the thing. if you didn't know them before they showed up, you're probably going to be surprised about who they are. This is something, like, it's always amazing to me that humans have to continue fighting over human rights. Like, we have to repackage them, and it just, like, it's something like it's civil rights, it's gay rights, it's women's rights, it's trans rights, and it's just like it's the same fight over and over again. It's just human rights. It's just human rights. But we keep going back to this place. All right. So really growing, building a community starts with pseudo community. And this is like, especially for people who are taking on leadership roles, this is like what your journey started like. And it's going to be what everybody who joins from now on until we're institutionally existent, what their journey is going to feel like. Everybody's going to come in with their good face on. You know, some people show up in their full selves on day one, but most people are going to show up like, you know, the polished version. And then that's going to wear off. Come on, somebody say jalapeno. That polish, and it ain't even good for it to stay up that long. You know, we have to figure out ways to make it where more and more people can show up as their full selves day one. But that means we have to be prepared to handle the tension that it creates. Could you imagine just walking into a room and not getting the pseudo community benefit? So you just walk into straight chaos? Like, you know, I mean, maybe it'll make us a little tougher, but I just don't know if we're ready for that yet. I don't know. I mean, but hey, who am I? Who am I? But no, so chaos is what happens because people are showing up as themselves. And that's always going to happen. There's never going to be a time, as far as I know of now, like, I don't see anything in society's evolutionary development that says that's going to be disappearing anytime soon. Joining new communities will always produce that conflict. It's like getting somebody on building a team, you know. Pseudo community, if they can't feel comfortable being authentic, I'm going to platform that. LGBT in the church may never really get out of pseudo community if they can't feel comfortable being authentic. That's it. That's like, man, that's it. Listen, y'all, and creating space for authenticity means being like almost defensively diverse, you know, because that's what's going to give people that comfort. And like, one of my favorite quotes is, somebody's cooking something and it smells really good and I am mad because I'm hungry. Dang it. Now, everything isn't for everybody. And that's how communities work. Like, literally, that's how communities work. Everything isn't for everybody. What you do is you show up and you find the things that resonate with you and you build those, because it may be for somebody else, you know. All right. So the chaos is the hardest part, but it is to be expected. Okay. So, and the reason I'm sharing this is because there are people who, despite all odds, you've tried to build community. You're like, no, I'm going to do it. I'm going to give this a shot. And maybe you didn't have access to information or what may have you. You tried it. You put in your time, almost worked, didn't quite work. The chaos hit, and now you feel like a failure. I want to tell you, like, no, that's guaranteed. Chaos is to be expected. Man, I think the moment, like, I started getting a small understanding of entropy, chaos stopped being surprising to me. Chaos, like, it's to be expected. It's to be expected. what we learn, or where we learn, is how we manage it. You know, man. So that's what I'm talking about. All right. So if you're building community, if you're going to be taking part of leading community, you have to know that evolution. In order to get out of the pseudo community place, we've got to be willing to embrace that chaos, and understanding that chaos is going to come from difference. That, like, isn't that one of the biggest challenges of community? How to do it together while being different? Isn't that one of the challenges? How to do it together while being different. That's community. Like, and again, just to kind of break the mystery out of it, if you live in a neighborhood, in a city, you're already a part of a community. You're already a part of a group of people that you are doing it together while being different. And that's why there is not just Applebee's in your community. Because while somebody may absolutely love Applebee's, somebody else wants something different. And community has to be that expansive. Everywhere you see community, that's how it operates. Okay. All right. So you got to be willing to deal with the chaos, and honestly, it's managing the chaos is the whole job. All right. There we go. Come on now. Like, if I was talking to my people who are still into like the metaphysics rhetoric, I'd be talking to you about welcome to your godhood. Like, no, managing the chaos is the job. That's building community. Building community is looking at the chaos and saying, we're going to do something about that. We're going to do something with that. It's like the Egyptian god. You know, the Egyptian god, he's battling the chaos to keep the chaos away. That's the whole job. That's the whole job. Is managing the chaos. Community does not sound attractive, does it? Not building it. Now, the things that you benefit from it are amazing. Everybody loves like an expansive recreation center, right? Like, oh my goodness. Like, let's imagine. Let's go there for a moment. Let's go to an expansive, all-inclusive resort that has like the food that you want to eat. It has the swimming activities. It has some golfing. It has some tennis. You know, it got stuff for the kids to do. Man, that is so fun. And all you got to do is be a member of the club. You just pay your fee, bam, and you just go there for you. And it's so fun, right? Right? Yeah, it is. But that's on this side. That's because all of the other stuff has been built. And that's because, and this is this for the leaders, I hate to say it this way. Yeah, for the leaders, you end up embracing the not so fun parts, the parts of making it happen, so that there can be fun parts for everybody else. That's why I said, if I was talking to the people who still did that, I was like, no, this is about embracing your godhood right here. This is building community is ultimate God level like work. You know, it's making the decision to manage the chaos. All right. So the next one, according to Peck, is emptiness. From pseudo community to chaos, then to emptiness. All right. Which this one was interesting to me. It moves beyond the attempts to fix, heal, and convert of the chaos stage when all people become capable of acknowledging their own woundedness and brokenness common to human beings. Now, this one I thought was interesting. I'm gonna read it again because this moves beyond the attempts to fix, heal, and convert of the chaos stage, when all people become capable of acknowledging their own woundedness and brokenness to human beings. All right, common to human beings. What we're fighting about, what's creating the chaos in the chaos phase, or what's creating the conflict in the chaos phase, is our differences showing up. It's unavoidable. It's going to happen. Differences are going to show up. How do you manage that chaos if you're trying to build something, right? And the answer is the next stage, which is that emptiness, where you get to that place where we're no longer trying to fix it. We're just trying to exist. We get that the brokenness is a reflection of our own selves, and it's uncomfortable in the beginning. But that's that dark room. Okay? And then the last one is true community. This is deep respect and true listening for the needs of the other people in the community. And that's really where you're working to get to. Like this is a part of the social mechanics that have to exist in order for the structural mechanics to be supported. For everybody who wants to lead community, that's the journey that you're having to sign up for. And again, when I say for everybody who's wanting to lead community, that's not, I think sometimes when people hear that, I'm signing up to be seen, or I'm signing up to be somebody's boss, or I'm signing, and I'm like, no, if you haven't checked out our small talk on leadership, go check it out. It means no, there's something that I want to see that I'm willing to be responsible for. Oh, that's good. There's something I want to see, and I'm willing to be responsible for making it happen. All right. So just moving on, and I'm going to wrap up here in the three basic types of community organizing are grassroots organizing, coalition building, and institution-based community organizing, which this can also be called broad-based community organizing. An example of which is faith-based community organizing, or what's often called congregation-based community organizing. All right. So three basic types of community organizing: grassroots, coalition building, or broad-based, or institution-based. Okay. Now I don't believe in categorizing which one is the best or the worst, but which one is Bridge City doing? We're doing institution-based community organizing. Bridge City is the institution, and we're doing community organizing through its existence. All right. So one of the things that one of the benefits of building broad-based political or broad-based community organizing, approaching it from the broad-based perspective, is it gives you the ability to build power in the hands of an organization of local residents, and then using that power to influence organizations' issues that the organization defines as important. And so it's putting institution-based community organizing is a type of organizing that puts power back into the hands of the people, in a sense that power can be easily, I'm gonna take that back type of thing, and is often what happens, right? but they are community-based, or the institutional-based community organizing. You've seen them everywhere. This is why they're often called congregation-based, or even faith-based. And you have a few ways that they are set up. And so there's faith-based, which is they're of course going to ground their organizing in the moral values and traditions that stem from religious faith to varying degrees and often quite powerfully. There's broad-based, which are typically ecumenical or interfaith, and many include schools, unions, or a variety of other community-based institutions like neighborhood associations. We would be very close to Bridge City, broad-based. And again, our form of community organizing on the surface, because we're in the beginning, is just, we got Sunday sessions and we have events on the global campus. This is the preface. This isn't even chapter 1. Bridge City 20 years from now will have schools. Bridge City 20 years from now will have housing units for at-risk people. Like this is just the invitation into the dark room, but the dark rooms over here are very much like the back rooms. That's funny, especially now that I've seen the whole movie. That's probably not great to say it that way. Oh, I do want to talk to y'all about that movie. We're going to have some movie chop time soon. Okay. Locally constituted, they organize in areas that range from large neighborhoods to entire cities, and then multi-issue. Their purpose is to mainly instruct local community authorities about how to effectively address a variety of pressing issues facing their communities. And as Bridge City grows institutionally, I can definitely see us in that area. But at the basis, and this is like it's one of the things that it doesn't really get said out loud. It's obvious once you say it, but it doesn't get said out loud a lot. But at the basis, community building, like I've given you some of the social mechanisms, right? And hopefully you're hearing some of the examples and how these works. Like, if you've ever had to build a college before, you've had to build community. Like most of us have never had to do that, but if you have, you've had to build community. And what you're going to find out about the interesting thing about community, and this is actually where we're leaning to as well, is basically like building community means throwing events. All right, bam. That's the quiet part out loud. Like if you're going to build a community, this is the part no one is saying. If you're going to build a community, you've got to have events. You've got to have events. You gotta have events. Otherwise, how do people know about your community? Where do people get to test your community? Where do people get to experiment with your community? No secret. There's no secret. Which is why I often quote this number for anybody, like seriously, especially if you're wanting to build a local community. You say you're somewhere locally, and you know that there are other people who would gather with you to do something weekly. Then yeah, if you want to do that, start with 30 people. Why? Why do I need to start with 30 people? Because you said you want to build a community, right? Like you're not building a book club. You're not building a small group. I mean, you could start with a small group, but the thing is, if you start and define it as a small group, when it gets bigger, people are going to get mad. Ooh, yeah. I've seen that. So you start with 30 is a typical recommendation. 30 adults, and it's typically like 30 households. It's like I'm being nice, but it's like 30 households. Why? Because if you're building a community, your main driver to that community is going to be events. Events are how you introduce people to the mission, the culture, and your values in action. Everything else is just decoration, you know. But your events is where they really get to see who you are, see what you're about, see what you can deliver on, see if they can, watch this, answer the question, do I belong here? And do I relate to people here? It's events. So it could be potlucks, it could be meetups, it could be festivals, it could be Sunday sessions and then coffee hours afterwards. It could be massive community projects that invite local participants, but it's going to be events. So that's the quiet part. That's the part nobody says out loud, but it's events. It's like, I think I need to put that in my office. It's the events, stupid. That's a political reference. Okay. And then types of community. And I've got to shut this horse down. All right. There are a number of ways to categorize types of communities, all right, that have been produced. And again, my goal today is to demystify community, and to show you that this information is easily accessible if you're looking for it. So there are communities that are location based. Almost all of us live in one of these, right? You live in a community. And really, when you're thinking about building community, think about your own community. It's a place where you work, a place where you eat, a place where you, play, engage, a place where you help solve problems, a place where you contribute. And you think, when you're building community, how do I get that type of simulated existence there? What would make me want to eat here? What would make me want to play here? What would make me want to work here? Oh, man. Okay. So look, location-based is pretty straightforward. It's just we are located in the same place. But then there's identity-based. Okay. So sometimes you find identity-based communities within location-based communities. Right? So like there may be a Jewish synagogue in your local neighborhood. That's a location-based, that's an identity-based community within a location-based community, right? So again, identity-based can range from local clique, subculture, ethnic group, religious, multicultural, or pluralistic civilization, or the global community cultures of today. They may be included as communities of need or identities, such as disabled persons or frail-aged people. We are sort of an identity-based community, in the sense of that we do have an identity around our shared values of that we aim to be people-centric, forward-thinking, and life-affirming. That's an identity marker in a sense. There's organizationally based, and this one probably fits us the best because it means we identify with the organization. And then there's, of course, intentional, which is a mix of all of those. Now, with categories are always problematic, and this is why even when I was coming through them, I was just kind of making sure that I'm reminding myself and you all that these are not necessarily hierarchical, but recognizing the problems with some of these categories. Paul James developed a taxonomy that I really liked, and it grounds it in community relations. And I think this is where I'm going to rest my case here. And instead of understanding it through these varying ways of location, identity, or organizational or intentional, he approaches it from a place of relations, right? So The first one he provides is grounded community relations. And I want you to hear this. He says, this involves enduring attachment to particular places and particular people. It's the dominant form taken by customary and tribal communities. In these kinds of communities, the land is fundamental to identity. And to me, that stands out because I've often said, like, when I step outside of religion and I study it, knowing everything that I know from living it and from experiencing in it as a professional in it, and just from the things that I've studied since leaving, standing outside, I can very see that much of religion is based in those grounded community relations, because most religions, at least from my perspective, just look like ancestor worship to me. You know, a way to worship the people who came before us. And yes, this type of identity is fundamentally tied to land. I could cite some stuff that's going on in the Middle East to kind of demonstrate that point. All right. But then there's also lifestyle community relations. And this involves giving primacy to communities coming together around particular chosen ways of life, such as morally charged or interest-based relations, or just living or working in the same location. Hence the following types of forms. Community life is morally bounded, or community life is interest-based, or community life is proximity related. That's more like your neighborhoods or community associations. And then there's also projected community relations. And this is pretty much like the relationship you have with your nation. It's almost like the community, it's the inherited communities. It's the communities that don't exist because of you, per se, but you're still able to participate in them, right? That feels really sad saying that as a United States American citizen thingamabobber. It's like it don't exist because of you, but you still get to you get to participate in it. Like, that's what it feels like. All right. But no, that's projected community relations. And that's honestly something that's real fun to study. But the big point here in all of this has been community. And again, my goal was to demystify it, right? That was my goal, to demystify community. And because it's not just a buzzword. It's not just some secret sauce. It's not something that some people can do and some people can't do. It is a part of our humanity. There is plenty of information out there. There's plenty of training that's developed. I'm even working on developing some. It's not a mystery. It's just messy. It's not magic. It's just a lot of mechanics. Community is something that we've been doing for so long as a species that we don't have a memory of any time that we weren't doing community. And the good news is there are entire academic disciplines that are constantly contributing to the study of community development, community planning, and community strategy. So you don't have to pray for revelation. You don't have to pay thousands of dollars to a guru. You just got to be committed to studying what is available and verifiable, and then implementing what you learn, working with other people, because the information is not there. Again, it's not the information is there. It's not messy. It's not a mystery. It's just messy. And the more you associate yourself with sociology, anthropology, and philosophy, the more you begin to appreciate the mess. You begin, And so I open with sort of an analogy with joining a community is like entering a dark room, and building a new community is like trying to convince other people to go with you into the dark room, you know. Then I want to end with this analogy about what is it like deciding to where and how to serve in a new community, right? And again, I challenge people to think about this. You move into a new neighborhood. Let's say you just moved into a new neighborhood. You have no job. You have no friends. You don't know what a store is. What do you do first? And that's what joining a new community is like. You haven't found your job there yet. You haven't found what feeds you there yet. You don't even know who your friends are yet. You're still trying to get what we're trying to answer the question of is, do I belong here? And do I have someone I can relate to here? That's the question we want to get to. All right. So when you're deciding where and how to serve in a new community, the analogy I want to give for this is that it's like deciding where to get into a swimming pool, a community swimming pool with no lifeguard on duty. That's what it's like when you're deciding like if you should step up and do something, take on a role. And that's the thing, like when it's the beginning, like all of the roles are big. Even if you take a small role, it becomes a big role. Like that's the beginning, right? That's the beginning. So, but it's doing it with no lifeguard on duty. And so you have to really enter in knowing that you're swimming at your own risk. Oh man, good communities welcome new neighbors. Yes. It's like you have to determine whether you're going to get in on the shallow end or the deep end with no judgment. There's no lifeguard on duty. If you know you're not in a place where you can swim, then get in the shallow end, please. Because that's community. The reason why I say community building is like entering into a community pool is because a community pool is designed to accommodate swimmers of varying levels. And that's what community has to be. From the moment it exists, it has to be that. It's just in the beginning, there's no lifeguards. Because you can't pressure people who can't swim to get in the deep end. That doesn't work. That doesn't end well. And you can't force people who came to swim to stay in the shallow end. And so the community pool is a pool that everybody comes in, and joining what it feels like is, and what I love about this analogy is this depends on your relationship with water, your relationship with pools, your relationship with public pools. Are you getting in the shallow end first or the deep end? And are you going to take the steps or are you going to take the diving board? And all versions are equally valid. But you got to give yourself grace by knowing which version you kind of took. I'm taking the shallow end. I'm giving myself space. Like I'm jumping in the deep end. There is no lifeguard. Don't be afraid to ask for help. You know? Because it's new and it's dark. And the one of the things that I love about getting educated on community building and on community planning is that it removed a lot of the anxiety of what happens and how it happens. Because at the end of the day, it's the people that do the work, the people that make it happen. And the work and that real work is getting people comfortable enough to be themselves while working together. Like I have a video planned. I don't know when I'm going to do it. It might be a Wednesday stream, but I'm done, y'all. It might be a Wednesday stream. But I got a video that I want to do where I'm asking us all to sit with the question of, do people have to code switch around you? I want you to just think about that. Do people have to change who they are around you? Do they have to change the way they talk? Do they have to, if they cuss, do they have to stop cussing when they're around you? It's not a judgment thing. It's just it's an interesting sociological observation. I was asking myself, do people have to code switch around me? I have friends who are like really loud and stuff. And I started wondering, like, do they get less loud when they're around me? I put myself through that thought experiment. My sister doesn't, not at all, not one bit, not one bit. Man. Oh yes. Let me hit this. One thing I think works is meeting people where they are and letting it be okay. They ain't wherever I'm at. Yeah. I also don't consider the vertical spectrum, rather horizontal. I like that. Absolutely. 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 It's making room for everybody to show. See, I'm liking this community pool analogy even better now. Cause like I'm just going back to thinking like, what anxieties did I have when I was going to school? Like I was overweight. So I was always anxious about somebody picking at me, you know, somebody gonna say something about my man boobs, which they're just boy boobs at that time. So that they're just still boobs. But you know, are people gonna pick at you? Are your pants gonna come down when you're getting out of the water? You got all of these anxieties. And I guess really what I'm trying to say about community, at least where we started at, is like that's why it's scary. It's another human endeavor. It's no different than doing anything else new that we've done before. It's just we didn't expect this to feel new. Like we because we inherited community, we expect it to be somewhat easy. And it's like, nah, this is work. This is work. But the good news is there's a lot of work out there on the work. And this is work that we do together. Bridge City works because there are people working. That's the most beautiful thing. And that's how it'll continue to grow. And so maybe we'll do part 2 of this next week. We'll see. But thank you all so much for hanging out with me today. I am at my time, but I've had a wonderful time with you all. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if you haven't already. If you haven't subscribed, I don't know what you're doing. And if you're looking for something to do on Sundays, hang out with us every Sunday at noon Central Time. Every Sunday, without fail. It is the only show on this channel and the Bridge City channel that is, as of now, completely involved with our community. And so it's Sunday sessions are becoming so incredible. And we've added the coffee hours afterwards, which the last few have just been like, man, like, I don't know why we weren't doing this before. But I hope to see you there. That's all I have for now. Until next time, keep rising and enjoy this music.
Don't sit around, please don't settle now. We can do better now. We can get up. Please don't sit around, please don't settle now. We can do better now.